As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
After Terence Crawford's hard-fought victory over Israel Madrimov, His Excellency Turki Alalshik said he wanted to set up a fight between Crawford and Canelo. But, who was thrilled about the win, still said that the fight wasn't as easy as many people thought because Madrimov was so tough and energetic that it went to 12 rounds, which is unusual for him because he usually takes out opponents in the earlier rounds.
Israel was a tough competitor. I knew he was going to be tough, like I said. I knew all about him when I went to Uzbekistan, and they was telling me so much about him. He's real strong, he's durable. He took a lot of good shots, and he got me to around 12.
After getting the job done, Crawford is now excited about the idea of fighting Canelo, and he says he would take any deal for the fight without question. However, Crawford said that he was okay with standing by for now because he knew that Canelo was focused on his fight with Edgar Berlanga right now.
You know what I say, if the money's right, we gotta fight. But at the same time, you know, he gotta fight, you know, that he's focused on. I'm gonna go back to my family, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna enjoy this win, and enjoy all the accomplishments that I've made in this.
The sudden increase in Terence's weight, from 147 to 154, was noticeable throughout the fight. This may have made some people wonder why Crawford moved up to 168 to fight Canelo, who is a much bigger threat than Madrimov. Terence was aware of this to some extent and thought about how, even though he fought Madrimov at 154, the Uzbek fighter was as strong as someone at 160, so it wouldn't be too crazy for him to fight Canelo at 168. This would be another important step on his way to becoming great, he said. I'm pretty sure he can fight at 160. This guy Madrimov is big. In the amateurs, he fought at a higher weight than he is now. It's not so important to me to fight Canelo. It's just another milestone to greatness and financially wise. His Excellency Turki Alalshik has again said that he wants to set up a fight between Bud and Canelo and says that he has sent the Mexican fighter a written contract to think about with his team. Terence agrees with this idea.
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
Turki also talked about his backup plan to fight Virgil Ortiz if Canelo doesn't accept the offer. According to Turki, Ortiz has a history of calling out fighters, so he might be a better match for Terence at this point. Turki said, I want Ortiz if Canelo doesn't. If they accept, we want to see this fight in his post-fight interview. Terence also addressed all the accusations directed at him for not being a marketable fighter, stating that the opulence that he garnered from this event was enough to prove that the animosity directed towards him is nothing but politics, as regardless of all the hate, most of the fans in the arena came to see him, and now with His Excellency support, he is getting what he always strived for. Terence stated, they were switching up the narrative because they were loyal to a certain promotional company, but I didn't care, we are here now. Everything happened for a reason, and if you look around, I'm the last man standing, and I was the one that they were talking so badly about. On the other hand, fans and boxing pros from all around the world have conveyed varying feelings after the conclusion of this event, with most being content with the outcomes of seeing their favorite boxers win, while others are pointing out the disparities in the scoring of the fights, which was something started by none other than Eddie Hearn. Dissatisfied with the scores of 11-61 to 12, Eddie declared that though it was not an outright robbery, it was still an offense to score a fighter like Madrimov like this despite his stellar performance, and shows the biased nature of the judges.
Because it's a waste of time. It's not a 116-112 fight. He was in the fight. He's coming into the fight as the champion. But because he's fighting Terence Crawford, he doesn't get a shake. All of the effective punches were coming from Israel Madrimov. Crawford had a good flurry in, I think, the last 10th round. It was a super close fight. I believe when you come into that ring as champion, you've got to take the belt off that champion. Terence Crawford didn't do that. And I love him, he's brilliant. But for me, he deserves to be champion tonight. It was a fight that could have gone either way. And then you hear the scorecards, and it's like a why'd you bother kind of.
Eddie commented on the overall performance displayed by Trevor and called it insufficient for a pound-for-pound champion, stressing that despite being the underdog from the start, Madrimov put substantial effort into this fight to prove everyone wrong.
I thought Israel Madrimov did enough to edge it tonight. I know there's always the argument of dethroning the champion, whether you think that's a thing or not. You know, I'm not sure I felt that Bud Crawford dethroned Israel Madrimov tonight, but what we are is extremely proud of him. 10 fights in, and we're debating whether he won a fight against the pound-for-pound number one.
Giving his thoughts about the potential match between Canelo and Crawford, Eddie looked doubtful about Canelo taking this offer, while also bashing Crawford. stating how he had an issue against a fighter at 154. So for him to think about going to 168 and fighting a reigning champion sounds preposterous, Ed stated. I think it's much too much weight for Terence. And you know, people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madrimov. But I think 168 is much too big for Terence. But like said, if the money's right, he'll fight, sharing the same sentiments about the claimed injustice that took place. Marimov's trainer, Joel Diaz, voiced his anger about the decision, calling it pre-planned and a corrupt move despite Madrimov dominating in most of the rounds. Joel also made comparisons between this fight and the bout between Errol Spence and Mickey Garcia, concluding that, despite his fighter giving everything, the opponent won just because he moved up to 154 to fight a champion in that class.
I mean, we can yell at the war and say a rematch, but they won't give. I mean, everything. Remember, when we walked into this fight, it was a lose-lose for us and a win-win for him. Right now, even though people say, "Oh, Israel won the fight," everything goes to Crawford. Why? Because he took the risk, moving a higher division, and went 12 rounds with a 154-pounder. You know, I've seen it before. I saw it when Mikey Garcia fought Earl.
Despite this continuing onslaught from Eddie and Madrimov's coaches, Crawford's team has expressed their satisfaction with this achievement. Crawford's coach, Bomac, appeared quite elated by this performance and stated that if a good time and chance appeared before them, they would take the Canelo fight, and they would facilitate Crawford's pursuit. If the money's right, he can go up there and do his thing. I believe that me and the coaches can put a game plan together to beat his Canelo. Knowing about the sheer scale of the fights and the debut of Riyadh season in America, it's no wonder that this was a star-studded event. From well-known boxing analysts to the most famous fighters, everyone has a lot to say about this historic win for Crawford, making him a four-time boxing world champion. Mike Tyson, an acclaimed former boxer, recently chose to come out of retirement to face the YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul later this year in November in a highly anticipated fight, stated how this fight was anything but effortless. As both boxers engaged in an outright battle, he mentioned it was a tough fight, also thinking it to be a tough fight. Caleb Plant, an American professional boxer, thought that this fight was very hard to deconstruct and judge, as both fighters fought valiantly till the end, with Terence taking the lead in the later round by using his notable ability to switch stances. Caleb stated this was a hard to judge some of those early rounds that lacked a lot of like back-and-forth action. So in those early rounds, you know, it was hard for me to tell. I did think Terence. On the 12th round, he further added, I thought it was a close fight, but I thought Terence did enough to pull out the victory with him winning the last round. Nonetheless, Caleb expressed his opinions about the probable fight between Bud and Canelo, stating how at this moment, this might not be the right initiative taken by Bud, as he is a bit rusted after he took extensive time off from fighting professionally, which was quite evident during his fight against Madrimov, having faced off against Canelo way back in 2021 during his prime. Caleb disclosed how Canelo is a very adept fighter who can be quite a challenge for fighters like Terence, who despite being world champions might be slackening off due to their age. He stated he's got some attributes that Canelo has: his explosiveness, his power, but he still has a different style than Canelo, so styles make fights. I feel like if Terence could get a little more busy and a little more active, you know, it could do him better. Also thinking that Terence might have gotten a little rusty over the years. Lopez gave his take on the fighter, saying that for the level that Terence is at and the experience that he possesses, he should not have undergone this much travail against a relatively inexperienced fighter who has only shinned during amateur fights. Lopez, who has voiced his desire to fight with Terence countless times in the past with incessant callouts after his comeback earlier this year, might be reconsidering his plans for this fight after witnessing the not-so-stellar performance displayed by Terence in this fight.
Shouldn't be getting hit like that with a guy that has only 11 pro fights. You shouldn't be having that much of difficulty with a guy that only has 11 pro fights. Now 12.
Before the fight took place, there were countless claims that Terence would easily overpower the young Uzbek fighter and might even get a win by stoppage, but with this outcome of the fight, a wave of uncertainty has regarding the fact that Terence might not be ready to move to 168 to confront a fighter such as Canelo, who surpasses Madrimov based on skills and experiences. Madrimov, who appeared dejected by the outcome of the fight, stated how even though he might have his differences, but the overall decision of the judges, one thing that he cannot overlook is that Terence exhibited immaculate skills for someone who fought at 150 for the very first time. But despite this, even Madrimov looked uncertain about Terence moving to 168 to go against Canelo.
Тоже есть удар. Техника тоже хорошая. Здесь, я думаю, равный бой plan. There's no doubt he has power. There's no doubt he has skills. I knew that, and you know that's why this fight was.
Being on the same page that Crawford should reconsider his idea to move to 168. Teddy Atlas, a renowned boxing coach and boxing analyst, stressed that Crawford should take some time off before he thinks about moving on to another weight class. Commenting on the fight, Teddy thought that though Madrimov fought bravely against a fighter of far more experience and showed great sportsmanship and refused to give up till the end, it was still not enough to score a win against Crawford, who is a master of switching stances and adaptability. Teddy stated, "It was a good fight, a controlled fight, a smart fight. A very contained fight and a very disciplined fight. It was a fight that made Crawford prove himself, as he had a real fighter on his hands, but Crawford showed us how special he is." Shocker Stevenson, who has a relatively pleasant bond with Terence, appeared delighted by this win, emphasizing that this was not as close as people were making it out to be, as Bud dominated the fight regardless of Madrimov's countless endeavors to stop him. Shocker still praised the young fighter for standing his ground against a world champion. Shocker stated, "I'm not going to say it was close, but Madrimov put up a good fight. I've been telling people I thought Madrimov was a good fighter. He's smart, he got a great amateur career. And he was really patient moving forward." Noticing the very styles between Madrimov and Terry's possible next opponent, Canelo Shocker pointed out the stark difference between the fighting styles of the two fighters. According to Shocker, Canelo is more agile and swift, whereas Madrimov looks to be a bit wobbly, which might be something to take note of. Shocker said, "It's different styles. You know, different styles make fights on Canelo. He is more flat-footed, whereas Madrimov is more awkward and weird in and out. They have different styles." Forever Bud's friend and compadre Shocker gave his viewpoint that though many people might think that Crawford is no match for someone like Canelo, especially at W68, Terence is insistent on establishing his reputation, and he is committed to it, so he would fight anyone who stands in his way. Shocker added, "I think Bud could do anything that he put his mind to, so I think Bud is the GOAT, and I stand by that." Another notable boxer who was present during the fight was Vasily Lomachenko, who has been quite the center of attention these days after announcing that he won't partake in any fight this year, presumably ditching noteworthy offers from Gervonta Davies and Shocker Stevenson. On being asked about his outlook on this fight, Lomachenko stated that this was a very exhilarating fight during which it was very hard to judge the winner at times. He stated it was a very close fight, but it was a very interesting fight and a very smart fight. In spite of all this praise, Lomachenko looked dissatisfied by the result, saying that Israel tried to give his best in this match considering that he was the champion of this weight class, but according to Lomachenko, this result might be synonymous with the controversial result of his fight against Devin Haney.
No, it's, how about compare my fight with Haney? Madrimov was a champion.
Yeah.
So it's enough for win the title.
Yeah.
With the appearance of almost everyone in the boxing business, some unforeseen people were also present in the audience, with the most notable one being none other than Devin Haney, who made his first public appearance after the whole debacle with Ryan Garcia went down. However, allegedly not quite engrossed by the fight, he decided to leave mid-fight, shocking many spectators. But before Devin could leave the arena, he revealed his thoughts about the fight, stating that Crawford was in charge of the fight from the very start and that no matter the circumstances, he would have easily taken him over any fighter like Madrimov.
Crawford's winning? Is he winning clearly?
Yeah.
Madrimov's putting up a good fight, right?
Yeah, he's putting up a good fight. Stop, make place, though, boxing.
Yeah, do you think Crawford looks good at 154 so far?
Yeah. Crawford, the weight is showing, but Crawford is...
Just like Shocker stated that if a matchup between Terence and Canelo is ever announced in the near future, the result of that fight will be in Terence's favor, as it is an indisputable fact that Terence is the most distinguished pound-for-pound fighter of this era.
That will be 2 more weights up, depending on where he comes in, like 160, 162.
Crawford.
On the other hand, not everyone is on Terence's side, as Devin's past opponent and recently the most controversial fighter, Ryan Garcia, spent no time and came forward to express his displeasure about the fight and have a history of slandering the authorities. Ryan blasted the judges for the choice that they made in Terence's favor. Ryan commended Madrimov for his tenacious fighting spirit throughout the fight and also compared the young fighter to boxing legend Gennady Golovkin, saying that this extraordinary performance at least deserved a draw, but that he was snubbed by the prejudiced judges. He stated, "Shout out to young Triple G, he did his best. I felt like he won the fight. At least a draw would have been fine, but the judges are weirdos, you guys, and Crawford. You're not pound for pound, and you never fought anybody. good, shutting down any opportunity for Crawford to have any chance against Canelo. Ryan mentioned how though he might be pound for pound #1 and world champion in 4 divisions, Terence is nowhere near the same level as Canelo. He stated Crawford is trash, don't ever compare Crawford to Canelo again. Looking at the performance shown by both the fighters, one thing that many people noticed was the sluggishness that was initially displayed by Terence in the earlier rounds, which might be due to him being away from the ring for a substantial time and coming back to a champion for the very first time at 154 pounds. But despite this, Crawford still persevered till the end and attained some momentum, especially during the last 4 rounds of the fight, which shifted the tide of the fight in Terence's favor. A former professional boxer and welterweight world champion pondered on the fact that despite popular opinion of this fight being a very close one and that the decision was partial, the ultimate call from the judges was unprejudiced and Terence was able to set some base from the get-go, which went in his favor till the end.
Was it too wide?
No.
No? Was it too close?
No. I mean, listen, we witnessed Bud again tonight in a spectacular fashion. He came out with control. He controlled the fight right from the distance. Every time Majimov went to jump, he tried to jump in and try to make something happen, he popped him, slow it down. He kept the fight, he kept great distance. He threw great combinations when...
It was too wide. No. Was it too close? I mean, listen, we watched Bud again tonight in spectacular fashion. He came out with control. He controlled the fight right from the distance every time. Tried to jump in, tried to make something happen, he popped him, slow it down, he kept the fight, he kept great space. He threw great combinations when it was needed. Zob remarked on the exceptional adaptability that was portrayed by Crawford in this match against Memo's powerful right hand, calling it an astonishing trait that not only creates an atmosphere of intimidation for the opposition, but also that it helps him fight against any opponent with any style possible. He stated this is what great champions do. Great fighters know how to change the style to any style that they put against you. You might give him a fast fight, next time he might come out with a whole other game plan. Zob went on to comment on Crawford going against Canelo next, stating how it is not something out of the ordinary for the 36-year-old fighter, as he has bespoke many times about his intention of moving forward, and looking at the attributes that he has garnered over the years as a professional fighter, there is no doubt that this would not be an easy fight.
I think if anything, it lets Team Canelo know and people in the world know that knows boxing, that Terence Bud Crawford has skills.
Yeah.
He has skills and he can fight with any kind of style that you put in front.
Mike Coppinger, a famous boxing reporter, gave his diplomatic take on this fight, stating that the final decision made by the judges relied mostly on their preferences of which style they enjoy more, giving some clarity. Mike stated that it was a very shrewd fight, where neither fighter tried to make any move that was out of the ordinary as it might have gone against them, and with this lack of any nifty fighting styles, judges made the choice based on the basic styles that they observed. Mike stated it was a very tactical fight, and neither guy seemingly wanted to take any risks, as I think they both felt the other's power. He added that neither guy was really throwing combos. Crawford had a better jab. Madrimov did cleaner, harder shots, so I think it's really what the judges liked. I think the judges did a pretty good job, but it could have gone either way, giving his view on Crawford going up to 168 to fight Canelo. Mike seemed skeptical of this choice, saying that after this performance it might be more appropriate for Crawford to fight some other fighters at lighter weight classes and to gradually make his way up to fight Canelo. He said, I am not saying anything's impossible, but after this performance, at the least I want to see a couple more fights from Crawford, maybe a 54 or 160 before we can even talk a Canelo Alvarez fight. Ow. So in the end, what do you guys think about the result of this? Is it the judgment fair, or was it Madrimov who should have won? Tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel.